got you in my sight. I keep all the words you said to me. I get you on your knees. Rewrite all the things you said that I should be. I'll get you, now you'll beg me please. Hey.
Disclaimer, read all about it.
Well, hello everybody. How you doing? Today is July 15th, 2026. Day 2 since the motion to suppress Stacey Wondra's statements have been released, and we've only gotten into like 9 or 10 pages and there's 40 something more to go. So we need to be on top of this and keep it going as we review the madness that has been unleashed upon us in this motion. I tell you what, I feel a lot better today about going over this because I've had a chance to desensitize a little bit. My apologies. My apologies for those who had to listen to me rant and rave and interrupt, the flow of things. I apologize, but we're going to do it again, and I'm going to do my best. No promises of a rant or 2 or 3 or 4, but I will do my best. So what are we talking about today? For those who are new here, you know that I have to do the spill. But to keep my audience, I'm going to say hi to people in the chat first so that we can go right into this motion to suppress Stacey Wondra's statements. This is in regards to Michael Vaughan, who went missing in July 27, 2021 in Fruitland, Idaho. No one has seen him since that time. No, he was never seen on camera. It's like he poofed, vanished into thin air. And the case gets weirder and weirder as the days go. And it's been, again, 4.5 years, almost 5 years. So there's a lot of mystery and a lot of buffoonery. And now that we're reading this motion to suppress, in regards to the only suspect that has been arrested and charged in relation to Michael Vaughan, which is shoddy at best, based on no evidence, no forensic evidence of any kind. It's just a false confession from someone who is prone to it. We'll get into that in way more depth tonight. Way more depth. So let me say hi to everybody, and then I'll be back in 75 minutes, and it's a little past that. I hope you're back. Good to see you, Chris. Thank you for supporting me. I know that you're a busy bee. And everybody who has been waiting for me to go live, and it's been months, and I really appreciate you. This is taking a toll on a lot of people who care about justice being served, especially the truth and the justice being aligned with Michael's real perpetrators, if that makes sense. Like, that's where I'm at. Miss Rubug, welcome in. Thank you. I have great moderators. I really do. Bitch, pleasey. Thank you for being here. Forensic Astro, woohoo, welcome. Sunflower Soul, of course, welcome in. So glad that you're here. I am so thankful to have all of you lovely people watching my lives. You're fighting for a little boy, yeah. Or just the truth of the matter. The truth. Yeah. Hello, in Clover Bliss. And of course, my lovely mod, Lies Catch Up One Day. Very clever, very punny. No getting upset tonight, says Sunflower Soul. But just in case, hide your dog bones and Pizza Hut delivery guys. Yeah, I'm not going to be threatening any pizza delivery guys nor random people that come around my house. That's for sure. All right. Well, for those who are watching in the back, lurking, or just don't feel like chatting, I get it, or watching the replay, thank you for being here. Hit that like button. It helps your girl, the videos come get to the people that need to hear it, right? And that's what we want. That's what we want. All right. So again, a little recap here. Michael Vaughan went missing in Fruitland, Idaho, again, July 27th, 2021 in the evening time. He has never been seen on CCTV footage. He has never been seen since that day, at least, as far as we know. The last person who had allegedly seen Michael in the home was Dad at around 6:15 ish. It just depends on the day. And there were maybe a potential neighbor or two that saw Michael. We just don't know what time that is. It's never been established or confirmed, so we don't know when that is. But there was also a very questionable character who was a neighbor of the man who was charged with the crime of kidnapping and murder and alteration, destruction of evidence, Stacey Wondra. And this registered sex offender had a husband that actually owned the house that she would stay. They weren't together, but yeah. She saw him on a tricycle, allegedly, that was never caught on any CCTV footage. Nobody else saw a little boy on a tricycle near on that road that they live on the subdivision across from where Michael was living. And everything that we know as far as now is all circumstantial evidence based on Stacey Wondra being in jail for a unrelated federal crime and being coerced into a confession that he was prone to due to his low IQ and mental handicap, aka being born with fetal alcohol syndrome and the long-term effects of that. That's where we're at. It really doesn't have to get that complicated. Of course it is, but that is the legit summary. That's the best summary that you really honestly could need. Now, for the complicated matters. So, I do have lives that summarize, how did we get here? There's a whole playlist of not only the trial, we're at the pre-trial stage where the motions are being filed. And let me tell you, before I even get into this, I'm going to put it back down. We need to go over what just happened in the last few days that I think is going to cause a ruckus just for everybody who has been following this case. And of course, loved ones of Michael and loved ones of the alleged suspects. So let's just go ahead and jump into it before I forget and before I squirrel, because we do have a lot to cover. Absolutely. I'm going to go to a website called iCourts that Idaho has for all of case, docket related information. So let me go on that real quick and pull up the docket so that you can see kind of what I'm talking about. This case has been going on, or the charges were brought June 25th, 2025. So just shy of 4 years that Michael has been gone. And we're coming up on 5 years. He went missing again on July 27th, and that's only, 12 days away for, I don't like to call it an anniversary, but you get my drift, that it'll be 5 years marked on the 27th of this month that he's been missing, and there's no sign of him. It's very disheartening. The longer these missing children cases go, the harder they are to solve, especially when you're tied up in, as a police agency in Fruitland. If you're hung up on the fact that somebody is actually the perpetrator, but no forensic evidence at all, just a mere alleged false confession, it's even worse, It's even worse, because if he is in fact innocent, which I do believe that Stacey Wondra is innocent of what he's been alleged. No doubt about it. It's okay to be wrong on that, but I don't think I am. Again, no evidence to suggest a crime ever occurred. That was from the Idaho State Police. Can't convince me there was a crime if there was nothing to prove it. That's how we work. That's how our judicial system should work. All right, so I went over the Thanksgiving apology letter. That's a live that you really need to go look at one time or another, if you haven't yet, because it kind of dives into the shady stuff that the police was doing in Fruitland to try to get as much little circumstantial evidence as they could to hem him up, Stacey Wondra. I mean, you're about to see so much setup. There's no denying the setup of Stacey Wondra from start to finish. That's why I have been so angry, because it really strikes a nerve with me when police, they get tunnel vision on somebody or a group of people and they have no evidence whatsoever, right? Doug Hart actually warned them about this in 2021, and I guess they completely disregarded Doug Hart's advice that don't get tunnel vision. Don't put your eggs in one basket. All right? Don't ever do that, because this is what can happen. Z says the account in this memo was very concerning. Of course, it's only one side of the story, and I'm awaiting the response, but wow, I agree. I know what you're talking about. Everything about how this was done is very concerning. This motion is, I think I underestimated the power that this motion was going to bring, I guess, because I was a little underwhelmed with the Thanksgiving apology letter motion and the motion to dismiss. Not anymore. Not anymore. This motion to suppress is so powerful, and it hasn't even been argued in court yet, that it takes the wind out of me at what these police officers, along with Chris Medina from the interview room, which is the worst part of it all. You're about to probably either double down on somebody that you really like if you watch him and just ignore it like some people do, or you're going to be outraged like me. There is no in between here. It's a love or hate thing once you see what he did. And I know a lot more than everybody about what he did to the other suspects' family members too, that nobody knows about. And you would be angry. You would be very upset, just like I have been, if you knew what I knew. So trust me when I say stick around, listen to all of the lives about this motion to suppress, because it'll take the sails right out of your boat. I promise you. All right, real quick. So on the 13th, they filed the suppression motion, which we're going over today. But they also, the defense in Stacey's case, excellent team, if I do say so myself. Tony Geddes, Abby Bulldog Broyles, who wrote this masterpiece of a motion that tied everything together in such a great way. And then Isaiah Govia, who runs the 3rd Judicial District for the Public Defenders, Idaho State Public Defender's Office. Very amazing group, if I say so myself. Not a lot of people get good public defenders, guys, in Idaho, especially in the last 10 years, because of the system that they had. It was a failure. And I truly believe that it's so much better now. You could obviously see that there is not as many issues as there were, which is important. It's very important. So there was a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th specific request for discovery asked by the defense I do not know what that is to date. But that's a lot of requests. And it could be nothing. It could be little things that they need to tie together that maybe the prosecution failed to hand over. That's a lot of discovery that they were going through and handing over, and they had issues with the body cam footage and all of that, and the interview footage with Stacey. It's in a footnote in this motion, but I wonder if there's more to this. I was not told, obviously. I wouldn't. I would probably tell you if I could, but I don't know. I have no idea what these are. They're not. They haven't been posted or anything. But I have a feeling from who I spoke to about it that was very vague. It's not small potatoes. This is big, big stuff. Huge. At least one or two of these. So I'm very interested to see what they will say when they argue these motions and what these requests are. Because I don't know. But if it's something big that I have been hinted at by someone, then I'm so anxious. I might even just go ahead and request the documents and pay for them myself. Right? Oh, you're not the only one outraged. Ellie B, welcome in. With the surveillance on the alleged 4 suspects, why none on MJV walking, running, some sign of life? There should be. There should absolutely be some kind of something. I can tell you that. There were Ring cameras in and around that neighborhood. So I'm not sure why he wasn't, but he should have been. Z says, I learned so much from this memo. For example, that the people with IQs in Stacey's IQ range cannot be subject to the death penalty. Yeah, that has been argued. I believe that the death penalty, Brian Kohberger's case, there was an argument of case law by the defense team that I recall. The Idaho Supreme Court reversed their ruling on people with mental deficiencies being eligible, and they flip-flopped in some odd years in the recent years, and I don't know where that stands now currently. I'm taking the motion for face value, and if that's true, which I assume it is, the threats that they made against Stacey and Sarah about the, getting the firing squad was a big fat lie. And I guess the prosecutor can lie to you as well. I don't know. I think it's vindictive and very, I don't think that would be a proper thing to do ethically, but I think they can get away with that. And I think that should change, maybe. But yeah, you are correct. And what's funny is Tammy, his mother, Stacey's adoptive mother, because he was, again, born with fetal alcohol syndrome, and his parents both overdosed and when he was a baby, infant. And Tammy Johnson is who adopted Stacey after being severely neglected, I guess, in between the time that he was in care after they passed and in her care. So, Stacey's had a rough start, just like Sarah did. Sarah's mother died when she was young and she didn't even know who her father is. And I have an inkling or a feeling that Sarah and Stacey aren't too far from the tree of each other. Meaning, I'm not talking about relation, but I'm talking about what the circumstances that happened to them. It's very similar. And you have two people who have these deficiencies. Some things weren't even diagnosed for Sarah, poor thing. She's probably the biggest victim of this prosecution, in my opinion. In this entire investigation, I think Sarah Wondra, hands down, has been handed the worst treatment. The absolute worst treatment. Because of her mental illness that went undiagnosed of schizophrenia, first of all. And second of all, she was not able to get her medications because it happens in America. Some people can't get their medications. I've experienced that in the last 3 years myself. I don't have schizophrenia, but for something mental health related. So it's tough out here as it is. And then you have, police who are harassing you, or you feel like you're being harassed, and you have all of these things going on, right? I could not imagine how that would have felt and how terrified Sarah was being alleged to have some kind of involvement in a murder of a child while trying to keep her mentals and herself together with diabetes, type 1 insulin dependent. This is just a recipe for disaster. Okay, guys, this is not good. And I had that feeling, and I think Z in the chat could probably agree. I've had this feeling from the moment they were named that there's something wrong here. And after deep diving them, when all of this came out in November of 2022, I had a feeling that these were the patsies. It reminded me so much of the Richard Allen Delphi case. I couldn't let it go, and I would argue till the moon and the sun came back a million times about how this feels like a setup job. And I don't think I'm wrong to this day. I don't think they did it. And I don't think that you should feel that way. This is just me. So I just wanted to let you know about there's a lot of requests, discovery, or evidence requests to the prosecution. We'll see how that goes and how long that takes. I think that there is some issues happening on the prosecution side. And I don't know what it is. So they're going to argue the motion to dismiss. I would assume they're going to bring it up on the 4th when they do a pretrial conference, or maybe there's more motions to talk about then, and then they'll argue on the 11th. I can't tell you 100%, but what I assume is that either way, on the 11th, 12th, and 13th of August, all of these arguments for the motion to suppress and to dismiss, and what other things come along the way, which I do know that there's other things that are being filed, and oh my God, you do not hit that subscribe and notification bell on my channel. I usually don't push that kind of thing here because I really don't care about those kind of things, but you want to do this. You want to do this if you care about this case or are interested in following it. Things are coming. And I really mean that. You're going to be mind blown even more so after this motion to suppress. Trust and believe me. And it's bombshell. Big problems. So here's the scary part. The jury trial starts on the 14th of September, and I don't know if that's going to happen with all of these, issues that are coming up. I don't see that happening. It might get pushed out, especially if the judge decides to deny all of the motions and we're going to trial or whatever he may rule on. If this goes to trial, I don't think that this trial date's going to be the thing. They are always pushed out, these murder cases. So, yeah. Phew. Yay, Sugar Shadow, good to see you. I'm glad to see you. Imagine thinking those officers were there for you, and being friendly for them just to turn their backs with her mentality the way it was. So which my lovely mod is talking about. In the last live, I went ham. I went off again. I tried not to, but I just couldn't take it. Chris Madonna and the other detectives, Detective Crimmin and Detective Kelleher, who were the investigators on Michael's case, basically went to Sarah Wondra's house in October of 2022, just 1 month prior to the excavation, to talk to her about Michael's case. And it seems like she was losing her mind at the time on her TikToks. And we will go through that. We're going to go, not today, but after the motions and all of the things get talked about on this channel, we're going to go deep dive on Chris and what he might have been involved in. She was losing her ever-loving mind mentally. You could tell that there was something going on. She was bawling, and then one day she was laughing, and then, 1 hour later she's posting something just dark, and she was going through the ringer mentally. And you could tell that she was not on her medication for her mental illness. There was definitely some maybe blood sugar problems with her diabetes. That's a lot. That's a lot on your freaking shoulders if you were Sarah Wondra. Or if you weren't even, if you were just a normal, regular person. That's a lot to go through. And having people harass her at that point in time that are related to knowing the family members of Michael Vaughan or knowing about the case. She was getting harassed for months because somehow, some way, they found out about these alleged potential suspects that weren't even named yet. But the family members knew about these people in April of 2022. That's a fact. I've proven that. So I don't know how that worked out or who, I don't know about that, about the details behind the scenes. But I can tell you it's not good. And I am heartbroken for Sarah to have to go through that. I really am. You could think what you want. She was going through a literal mental breakdown on a daily basis. And she went to the mental institution 4 or 5 times. I think it was 4 times. And one was on the behest of Chris McDonough and the detectives after praying with her for 1 hour as she was going through her psychosis of whatever kind. Because the detectives were playing good cop, bad cop with these suspects' family members and trying to get them to attack each other and tell on each other since June of 2022. This has been going on for a while. So I could imagine how incredibly frustrating and crazy she felt. And that's what makes me so angry. Okay, let's go into the motion now. Because I keep getting round up. It's so easy to do when you read this. So, everybody say a little, send me a little good positive energy this way. I might need it. Before we start, Ellie says, Sarah Wondra may have been having a mental health crisis, which would explain the involuntary commitment. Right. But we know on October 13th, 2022, those detectives had her committed. They had her committed after praying with her for an hour. And it's despicable. I don't care if she really needed it or not. Her mother was only 3 houses away. Her adoptive mother. I don't know if this was malicious to get her to maybe tell a psychiatrist some stuff that they could get their hands on later. I don't know. But it's giving malicious intent. And for somebody who praises themselves like Chris McDonough, thank you, Ketchup. Lies, we'll catch up to you one day. Thank you so much. For somebody to dabble in these missing children's cases like this and then turn around and we get to find out what they were doing, this shady stuff in the background. You found the one creator that will not let that go. I will never stop talking about what you did. I don't care what your reasonings are. It's not okay to trample on people like that. And you've done it before, Mr. McDonough. You've done it before to many people. It has to stop sometime. It has to stop. Or at least people need to be aware. So family members who have, a case going on in the future are warned about this man. And I stand 10 toes in the sand on that. That's how I feel. All right. So we left off, I believe. Let me look. We didn't get into the dinosaur. We didn't get into that yet. Hold on one moment while I try to remember where I was, because I think I got the wrong one pulled up. It's the right one, but I have it highlighted where I was at. This is a different one, but I don't even think we were at November 10th yet. Nope. I think we left off on page like 11. That's really bad. We're going to get through this much better than I did the last 2 days. Okay, here we are. This is it. I stopped at... Okay, the detectives tell Stacey that a lot of the evidence points to his house. And with his help, maybe we can understand what happened, and we know that this is a lie. Because there was zero evidence ever put in the PCA except for circumstantial. There was zero forensic evidence. The only thing that they are suggesting is a canine alerted. A cadaver dog, or 5 or 6 cadaver dogs alerted in 2022 during the excavation. But in November of 2021, a cadaver dog did not hit on the backyard of Stacey and Sarah Wondra's home. So how did we jump from no cadaver dog to 5 or 6 of them hitting on a already excavated home? I think you could do the math and realize that either they're bullshitting and there's a chain of custody problem and they're lying, or they really did and they're hitting on something not Michael. Because a body only being placed there for 1 day, as Stacey Wondra falsely confessed to in his words, residual odor could never last that long. A year and a half later, if he was only placed there for a moment in time, and he might not even have started to decompose at that point. It takes 24 to 48 hours. You automatically decompose when you pass, but the remnants is what I'm trying to say, and trying to be respectful as I can, doesn't really start to infiltrate the soil at that point until a little later. So there's no way in hell that 5 feet, 4 feet down into the ground after the excavation, his cadaver scent could be picked up a year and a half later. It can't happen. It's impossible. The science is not there. Okay. All right. After using the 10-point scale, Stacey put Adrian at a 9 as to like who's involved. Who could be involved? They're doing hypotheticals right now. I guess I should reiterate that point. The detectives are only asking him hypotheticals, and it turns into he saw it very quickly. Very sneaky of them to do. After using the 10-point scale, Stacey put Adrian at a 9. The detectives asked Stacey to work backwards. They asked him where Michael would be, and Stacey responded, probably buried somewhere. They asked him who he thinks would have buried Michael. Then they remind Stacey that Sarah is likely to throw him under the bus since they are on the outs, meaning they are breaking up at this point. Because detectives have already told Sarah that he was cheating on her while he was in prison, talking to other ladies. And she was done. She had it with this man. And so the detectives are already, fluffing up Sarah to rat on Stacey while they're doing the same thing with Stacey to Sarah. That's what they're doing. They're just trying to get someone to squeak. Even after being told that the FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit warned them that Stacey would be prone to false confessions due to his fetal alcohol syndrome and related disorders and his low IQ. Amazing to me that they could go this low. When the interview is nearing the end, the detectives try to ask Stacey whether they have coerced him. If she is involved in this, the last thing we want is the perception from the court or you from anybody is that this was coercive in nature in relationship to you saying stuff about her. That's my voice, Chris McDonough voice. To which Stacey responds, I don't understand. That kind of makes me laugh because, yeah, what are you trying to say, bro? And this is a very obvious precursor to Chris McDonough and the detectives' motives about covering their ass in court. Well, look what I said. Look what I said. He's already preparing himself for appellate courts. He's already trying to make sure that he covers his ass on the court record that we're not trying to coerce you, because appellate courts, they're not reading how Chris McDonough said it. They're reading how it was said on the record, right? So this is just insane. He is already trying to fluff it up, cover his butt. This comment, and I know the defense attorneys were like, oh, no, you didn't. But anyway, this comment came up after Stacey tells the detectives, I think she is going to pawn it off on me. And learning everything that my mom is saying and she is saying and what I have learned here. So when you hear the false narrative out there that Stacey knew all of this evidentiary information because he's the perpetrator, that could not be the absolute truth. When we have the detectives contacting his only support system, Stacey's mother, who is then leaking that information to him so that he can already have it in his mind, and when they ask him about specific things, the seed is planted in his mind and he is literally setting himself up for failure by leaking that already told information. But the detectives never told him this directly, so they're making it look like we didn't tell him anything. But you did. You just used his mother to do it. Sneaky, clever, unethical, and disgusting. And shame on you for doing that to a mentally handicapped person. That is disgusting. We need to protect these people who have mental deficiencies or mental health issues in prison. Because this is what happens. They take advantage of it. These cops take advantage of it. Z says, the neighbor called 911. I don't know if they tried to talk to her first or not, but I do think they called out of caring. I don't think she was being loud. They were just worried. Yeah, John Cox across the street definitely called, but they were already looking into her and talking to her, and they came by 5 separate times throughout, I think that was the 12th through the 20th. So they already had it in their minds to keep going at her when she should be left alone. There was no couth about it. But I do agree. The neighbor also snapped a photo of her rolling around in the in her driveway and then sent it to JLR. So the character of that man, I don't really take seriously. Chris says, or at least call for a welfare check or something. It doesn't take a lot to be a decent human. Thanks. Bitch Pleasy says it really breaks my heart what they did to her. Yeah, me too. Yeah. The detectives told Stacey that it's really important to go back before you guys leave for CUNA that night and really work through that. And that's when I went and said, there's nothing to work through. What do you mean? As they have Stacey go through the time, he was at the splash pad to the time they left for CUNA. Stacey tells them that he had stopped at the splash pad, then did a taxi ride and asked him to think of anything he could build off of. Huh. What did... I'm going to use Chris McDonough against Chris McDonough right now. You know, when he talks about the behavioral analysis unit and the victimology. Well, let's look at Stacey as a victim of Chris McDonough here for a minute. What is happening here? What's happening here? Build off of what? Your false idea of what happened? Your false narrative? What are we building off of here, Chris? What was your baseline before he started yapping about whatever? Chris, that's what I'd like to know. When the detectives have Stacey walk through coming home, he told them that Adrian was sitting on the couch, and when prompted to talk about Brandon's duffel bag, he says it is behind the TV. Okay? couldn't be a very big duffel bag for it to just be sitting behind the TV. That's weird. When the detectives pointed out that there was about an hour missing from Stacey's memory, he told the detectives that Adrian and Sarah liked to go to the dispensaries in Ontario just like everybody else, just like Brandy and Tyler Vaughan. They admitted all the time they went to the dispensaries. What makes that so criminal? Well, it kind of is criminal if you go to whatever. What makes that suspicious? And Sarah came back home. I think that meant backpack, but it says, and Sarah came back home back. I think that was a typo. Anyway, at this point, the detectives introduced the thought that Sarah, Adrian, and Brandon came home with Michael. When questioned about this, Stacey says no, and the detective said, "I'm just asking." Okay, well, he said no. Deal with it. After this, Stacey informed the detectives that this is all he has for tonight. Listen up. Stacey informed the detective, "This is all I have for tonight." And the detective tells Stacey to think more about what happened, and if he thinks of anything else, they won't put it in the "he's coming up with more" column. Okay. That's totally Chris Medina, if I could guess. After 5 hours of constant interrogation, Stacey returned to his cell, and he called his mother at 7:24 a.m. So this was on November 5th. We didn't get to see this information, these videos. We didn't get to see that. We saw the November 11th interrogation videos. So this is a different perspective. All right. During that phone call, Stacey informed his mom that he didn't have any part in the disappearance of Michael Vaughan. Oh. So he's telling his mother, "I didn't have any involvement." Well, that's inconsistent with what he says in the next 2 interview dates, November 10th, 11th, and 12th. That changes and flip-flops twice. He was talking to his cellie, who told him that Adrian was involved in human trafficking and that he left his Lexus key on the counter when they went to Cuna, and that Adrian was alone at the Red Wing house from 7:08 until 11:22 p.m. That is very interesting. The probable cause affidavit states that Adrian was taking a selfie in the bathroom at around 6:38, I think. So we don't know if Adrian was actually there or not. That there was no metadata, I believe, about that selfie. I think that was just sent to them like, here. It could be a lie. We don't know. We don't know where Adrian was. So that could be untrue. We don't know. There was no metadata on Adrian, from my understanding. All right. So Stacey informs Tammy that during the interrogation that he found things out about Sarah that he was not happy with, and that the detectives were going to do an eye test to confirm he was telling the truth and that he had nothing to do with Michael's disappearance. Stacey also tells his mom that the detectives think that Sarah and Adrian have something to do with Michael's disappearance. Stacey tells his mom that he was moved to PC, protective custody, and that he is not a witness because he did not see anything. Interesting. He was moved to protective custody. He was in SEG. The conversation ends with Tammy telling Stacey how proud she is of him talking to the detectives and helping them. If you did not see the last 2 lives or are unaware of this, you have to understand that Tammy has been asked by Fruitland detectives, and I'm sure Chris McDonough as well, to basically tell Stacey little things here and there that they know so that he will keep talking and then planting the information of evidence into his mind, in my opinion only. that he eventually leaks out into this alleged confession footage. It's very weird. Yeah, and people lie on probable cause affidavits all the time. Look at the Karen Reed case, and I know that you're very anti that. We are on different pages, but I don't trust that. We're going to have to see the evidence that it was confirmed, right? I want to see the defense also confirm that too, because we've already had conflicting issues that you even helped me realize. I don't see his data right now. So we really don't know if that confirmed screenshot is true as of right now. I'm not going to put my stock into Fruitland PD, that's for sure. But that's just me. Later in the day, Tammy and Stacey have a video visit where he tells his mom that he just wants the boy found, but he did not want to talk to the detectives for 5 hours. I don't blame you. Stacey tells his mom that after their call on November 4th, he did not come out of his cell because he was trying to collect his thoughts and try to figure it out. Stacey tells his mom that he told the detectives that he remembered Brandon leaving Red Wing house with a duffel bag and backpack, that he is a big guy and can't turn around to see what was put where in the truck, and that Brandon put his duffel bag in the back of the truck. Stacey then tells his mom that apparently there was a tricycle at their house. So he's giving her this rundown about what they talked about, and it's obvious that he's trying to explain what ifs and hypotheticals. It's very clear to me. It seems. When he uses the words "it seems," I'm a big guy. I didn't know what was really back there. So it's obvious that he's coming from a place of there's potentials, but I didn't see anything. Kind of it could have been, but I'm not sure. So anyway, but he didn't remember the tricycle being at their house, and it was Michael's tricycle. What? Uh-oh. Hold on. Big bombshell that I'm totally zoomed over today. I gotta write that down for myself. Hold on. He is telling his mother that it was Michael's tricycle. So who told him that? Who confirmed that for him? Was that a mistake, or was that something that the detectives said was his when they knew it wasn't? Because they're still not sure who that tricycle belongs to. They're still not sure. Meaning the Idaho State Police, who handled that forensic evidence part of it. It's in their evidence just sitting there collecting dust. They don't know who that belongs to. Interesting, isn't it? I don't even know what to say. That's a big one. I will have to ask him and see what he says. He tells his mom that the detective lady told me that she believes that Sarah had... The detective lady, that would be Juanita Kelleher. That she told me that she believes Sarah had something to do with it and Adrian. And she wasn't saying that she thinks I have anything to do with it. She just told me that if I can help her find Michael, that she's on my side 100%. Ooh. Okay. And I want to find this little boy more than anything. I'm devastated, and all I want is for my mom to have her kid back. Is for this mom to have her kid back. Well, that seems authentic to me. I could be biased, so don't take my words for that. But that sounds like an honest conversation. The detective lady told me they think Sarah and Adrian are involved in this. So you have to understand that that's who Stacey ends up blaming and confessing to knowing who did what to Michael. That's who, those two are exactly who he ends up blaming here in about a week when they come back. And that's what her, meaning Kelleher's, idea of who was involved, without any evidence so far, that's who she thinks is involved. How ironic is it that when he's breaking down saying, I just want my freedom, I want to get out of jail right now, Immediately after that, he says, yeah, I saw Sarah and Adrian do this, that, and the other. Dig a hole, blah, blah, blah. How ironic. Does that scream coerced, compliant, false confession to you? It does to me. It gets worse. It gets way worse. Tammy then questioned Stacey about the duffel bag because the police brought it up to her as well. So they're discussing evidence that, my God, nobody else could even get an update for a while on this case. People were getting kind of tired of it. And hell, Tammy got all this stuff. Got all the deets. That's not good. So Stacey tells his mom that he didn't think anything weird of the duffel bag until they got back, because that is when he found out the little boy was missing. Stacey tells his mom, let me repeat that. Stacey tells his mom that he didn't think anything weird of the duffel bag until they got back, because this is when he found out the little boy was missing. It seems to me like he never thought it was weird at all until that point in time. You know? Right. Yeah, exactly. So what really happened? I don't know. Most importantly, Stacey tells his mom, we really work together. Like, I'm trying to get dates and stuff together because my time frames were off. Like I told them, I was confused because I thought they did this search and rescue the day after this little boy went missing. But it, excuse me, but it was actually the 1st or 2nd. And this happened on the 27th of July. And they didn't come and do the interviews until the 1st or 2nd, which is when the rain came. And the scent trails, rain loves to carry away scent. It loves it. It hydrates those scent particles and loves to take it here, there, and everywhere, by the way. So he's confused. This is really amazing here. Very kind of bombshell to me, because Stacey is saying, you know, the detectives and I and the people that were coming by, we really work together. I'm trying to get my dates and stuff together. My time frames are off. And I was confused because, you know, I thought this was like it happened later, but it actually was earlier. And they didn't come and do the interviews until the 1st or 2nd. And that was because of Banshee, the scent trail dog. And then he goes, which made a lot of sense because I kept thinking that it was the day after that we did the interviews, but it wasn't. So he's not even sure exactly when, you know, Michael went missing and when the first time he was questioned or interviewed by police. He thought that was a much closer time frame. That's very interesting. Stacey tells his mom that he went to the emergency room on Tuesday and they took him off all of his psychotic medications. So what day? Hold up. This is going to be important because what you're about to hear is the alleged unaliving attempt that Stacey is alleged to have done to himself. And when you see what the detectives do after this alleged unaliving that Stacey tries to do to himself in his jail cell, you'll be outraged. But I need to figure out when Tuesday was, because this is going to add some context that I think is helpful. So when was the Tuesday around that time of November 2022? I'm going to go into my calendar real quick and look. November. So this would have been either the 2nd of November or the 9th. Let me scroll back up really quickly. It would have had to have been the 2nd. November 2nd. Okay. So he was, okay. Whoa. Stacey tells his mom that he went to the emergency room on Tuesday and they took him off of all of his psychotic medications. And let me tell you something, guys. You don't get to know this information except for the fact that I know it. And you're just going to have to trust me, bro. It is, I'm sure, in Discovery somewhere. But I've seen it I have heard and seen it myself, that he has a lot of medication that he is supposed to be taking for a lot of different things in relation to his mental health and to the fetal alcohol syndrome related disorders and stuff like that. It's a plethora of things. So if they were to take him off of these psychotic medications on a Tuesday, they're interviewing with him on the 5th, which would have been Friday at the time. That puts him in a very vulnerable situation and a weird mindset, depending on which psychotic medications he was off of. This is so bad. Oh my God, it's so bad. This is just, it gets worse. But these little things start to add up. Okay, so which Tammy was visibly concerned about this new piece of information. The mood swings that must have brought upon Stacey. And now it all makes sense about the alleged unaliving suicide attempt. It's starting to make a lot of sense. Oh my God. Stacey tells his mom that I'm trying so hard to be myself, but it's like I can't. Mentally, I'm just deteriorating. I feel like I'm becoming empty and I feel like I'm washed away. Oh my God, he's depressed. He's depressed. And people would probably say, and have a right to say, because he's guilty or has guilty knowledge and he feels guilty. Because he does say that later on, but maybe it's because he's off of his psychotic medications. I am legitimately, I'm speechless too. I'm stumbling over my words because I could never in a million years have an excuse for this behavior. Excuse me. There is not one police officer that should be able to manipulate people like this with a good excuse. And Michael being missing is not a good excuse to trample on people like this. It's not enough. As a mother, I understand that would be a different opinion. But you cannot go trifling over people's lives like this. Especially vulnerable people. They have rights. It's very easy to be angry with Stacey as a person who knows him. I understand other people's conclusions on that too. But I actually feel 100% terrible for getting snippy or being an asshole for not knowing what I know now. You never know what people are actually going through and what their situations are in life. You never know. And it should always be on your mind that you don't know and you should never assume. That's my lesson with Eve for tonight. A moral lesson. Okay, on November 5th around 6 p.m., Stacey calls his mom again to tell her that he tried to talk to her on November 4th before he talked to the detectives. Because I was just really wanting to talk to you about what I had come up with in my head. Stacey then tells his mom what's crazy about this. It's not even like I don't know anything. Everything that I'm telling them is hypothetical. Tell that to a jury and see what they do. We didn't get to hear this because this would not help the probable cause hearing, the prelim hearing. It's not like I don't know anything. Everything that I'm telling them is hypothetical. Like if they would ask me questions, they'd be like, okay, well, on a scale of 1 to 10. And he goes, how likely do you think that Sarah could have played a part in this? And I said, after talking to my mom, and talking to you guys and finding out like how crazy she's literally become and how she started right after Michael Vaughan's case, which is not true. Wow. He seems conflicted to the point of like questioning his own sanity. But he's also admitting to the fact of what his intentions were to his mother about what he's saying. You have to remember that Tammy is almost working for the damn detectives at this point. She's been put up with a monumental task of trying to remember how to give him the information they want and also keep quiet about it. The detectives say, don't tell anybody. Keep it close to the vest. Shush, shush, shush. Mum's the word. We don't want Sarah getting word of this or wind of this and her attorneys because we'll low-key get cut off. We gotta be sneaky, Tammy. And I know this is your son, but you're doing the right thing because Michael matters. Horrible. Stacey also tells his mother that thinking things through about Brandon, how Brandon wanted to get his car at 9:00 at night, and he is putting things together with detectives that it's possible Brandon, Sarah, and Adrian had something to do with the disappearance. What evidence? What evidence made these detectives think that these hypotheticals were something to consider and go this far down the rabbit hole and this far down the unethical rabbit hole to do this to these people? There wasn't any. And this is why I keep saying I am afraid that this might be more corrupt than I assumed. This might be. I want to know the reasoning for in Chris McDonough's mind and the detectives' minds as to what they thought they had, because there's nothing. So what did they think they had? That's pretty sad. What was the rush to get these people hemmed up on this charge? November 10th. So now we jump from November 5th to November 10th. Yeah, so he was off of his psych meds, confirmed, based on what he's saying, on November 2nd, 2022. And they interview him on the 5th. And that's just about the time that you're really going to be at the height of your withdrawal of psychotic meds, depending on what they are. But I will tell you, as someone who used to take a few, Wellbutrin being one of them, which you will literally throw up after stopping cold turkey on those bad boys. Wellbutrin is horrific on that. And a few others. You don't feel good. You feel like you're losing your mind. You start having night sweats. You start feeling like you're losing yourself. Just like Stacey just said, you feel like you're washing away. You really do. You feel weird because your receptors in your brain are trying to relearn how to do this whole living normally thing. And it takes time. And sometimes they don't recept back, depending on how long you've been taking these psych meds. So, egregious. This is why they need social workers along with investigators almost every time they talk to a suspect. I swear to God. On November 10th, 2022, the detectives visited Stacey a second time at his request, although in a different room, but about the same small size, which is important. Stacey was interrogated for over 4 hours until nearly 1 a.m. When detectives arrived, Stacey asked them if he would get a deal. So he's asking directly, these detectives, can I get a deal to help find Michael and what all that entailed, such as whether he would personally have to search. He wanted out of that jail cell. That's it. He kept saying, I don't have anything to give you. I'm not hiding anything. I don't have, and he's literally putting his hands up and throwing it at them like, I don't have anything to force to give you. I got nothing. He said that over and over and over again. And the smirk on Chris McDonough's face, like, you think you don't, was very telling to me. That's just me in the footage. The detectives told Stacey that they were going over his story still and didn't have an answer. Stacey tells the detectives that he talked to Sarah a few days ago and she told him she would not testify against him, which he told the detectives he did not believe. That's because Tammy's telling him on behalf of the detectives, she gonna roll on you. Why wouldn't he believe his own mother who's been fed all this bullshit from the detectives? He was gonna believe his mama. He's gonna do it. He did it. God, the moral strife that I hope Tammy feels about this, I'm sure is heavy. The detectives remind Stacey that the only way they are making a deal is if they find Michael. That was Juanita. Stacey is questioned about his interrogation on November 5th. And the detectives bring up direct questions about the duffel bag and where Sarah and Adrian went after Stacey got home from the taxi run. When the detectives asked Stacey what would now make you believe that Michael was at your house, and Stacey responded, the tricycle, I guess. You guys said it was in the garage because I've never seen it. So here's where it turns to, damn, maybe Sarah did have something to do with it, even though Stacey is reasonable enough and has said many times, she was with me. Brandon was with me. These are all hypotheticals, but it's starting to slowly turn into not hypotheticals anymore. The detectives pressed Stacey more on a 2-hour gap before he left for Cuna, and Stacey tells him he doesn't remember, and the detectives continue to ask pointed questions about where everyone was, how everyone was behaving, and what conversations were being had. The detectives asked Stacey directly again about the duffel bag. God, what is it with the duffel bag? I'm sick of the duffel bag. Sick of it. Why don't y'all go get it, Fruitland? Why don't you just go get it? You know where it's at. Why didn't you go pick it up? Because it wasn't shit when you noticed or saw or realized how small it was, right? Why don't you just go get it? Because I think it would be embarrassing. And yes, I meant what I said. They didn't want the duffel bag that was the duffel bag. Tells you everything, doesn't it? And Stacey tells him it came with them to Cuna. And Brandon emptied it. Like exchanging dirty clothes. And then the duffel bag came back with them, noting at no time there was a weird shape. Because he does later. That's what they wanted to hear, and that's what he tells them. Okay. Excuse me. After Stacey told what he remembered, he told the detectives, I mean, you're getting literally the best information I can give you off the top of my head. I mean, I'm sorry you guys are not getting what you want. I keep calling you guys because I want to try to help you the best way that I can. The detectives then tell Stacey the premise of his confession. What? How did it go from, I'm telling you everything that I know, I want to help. If you want me to go search literally out there in the world, I will. But there's nothing I can give you. This is it. And now here's where it shifts. And I do believe this is where Chris McDonough starts to talk. This is where he starts to infiltrate because he sits silent for quite a bit. And then he gets this bright idea to open his mouth. Quote, it sounds like to me that you're insinuating that if the house is involved, that Sarah, Brandon, and Adrian could have took Michael where they left. when they left, put him in the duffel bag, and then taken him to Cuna. Is that what you're trying to get at? The detectives go on to say, if what's happened is what you just told me just now what happened, then I don't understand why you won't explain the entire story. Because I would stick up for you if that were true. Wow. Wow. This slowly starts to become a hypothetical for Stacey, and now we're changing it into a reality. Which, I don't know if you knew this, but people who were born with fetal alcohol syndrome, things get worse over time, not better. So when you hear these disorders that are developed over time as a person's brain who is literally damaged from the alcohol in the mother's womb, things don't get better. Maybe some side effects might, but what I'm talking about is the long-term effects of the damage has good days and bad days, but it steadily declines over the life of a person with fetal alcohol syndrome. It's not going to get cured one day. It just goes south in slow little ways. And so he's highly susceptible. People with fetal alcohol syndrome are extremely suggestible and susceptible from something being a fantasy slowly turning into a reality, depending on the circumstance. And this is what's happening, in my opinion, here. The detectives at this point told Stacey what story he needed to get behind. And if he were able to, the detectives would stick up for him. The detectives go on to tell Stacey, if you help me find him, I will be on your side 100%. That's Chris McDonough. You can change the future if you could change right now. I will advocate for you. I'm here asking for your help, and if you help me, I help you. That's Juanita. And I got this is Crimin. I got the prosecuting attorney's phone number written down on that piece of paper right now. I spoke to him before we came in here. He's willing to help too. So now the prosecutor's in on this coercion. Everybody's in on it. This is insane. During this exchange, Stacey then says to the detective's question of just tell me what happened that night. Like Sarah and Adrian abducted him. Straight to Final Jeopardy, huh, Miss Juanita? Let's just go into it. From that point forward, Stacey starts to tell the detectives that he thought they were trying to make money. I mean, it switches from, I just want my freedom. How do I trust you that you're going to give me a deal that you're on my side? And Chris McDonough says what he says. We believe you. We believe you, but there's something you're missing. So just tell us what really happened. And then that's when Crimin chimes in. We got the prosecutor's number right here. He's ready to help. Can't tuck his shirt in at the freaking motion hearing, but he's here to help. He said that he thought they were trying to make money. He did not see Michael. He knew Michael had been to the house because of the tricycle that the detective showed him a picture of. He is pretty sure they used the duffel bag to transport Michael. When they pull over, he thinks Sarah and Brandon were checking to see if Michael was still alive. So all of this and look, it's very hard for me to read through this shit that I know in my heart is bullshit. But I do understand that not everybody feels that way. I do understand that, and you want to know what this thing says. But I feel like if we go over all of these changing stories, the duffel bag color changes 3 times. The size has changed 5 times throughout these different interviews that we haven't seen yet. Some of them we haven't seen. It's worthless. It really is worthless to go over everything that he lies about, in my opinion. But I will do it if you want. Otherwise, I can skip over what he says happened and the inconsistencies And we really need to focus, in my opinion, on what happened legally with his lawyer and what happened, what they alleged and what they lied about. It's up to you. Let me know in the chat what you would like. And I'll just keep going until I kind of get the vibe back. Michael was still alive, and he is guessing that Michael was already duct taped inside the case, the duffel bag. During the interrogation, the detectives consistently asked Stacey to guess, what do you think? Probably money? Do you think he was alive when they put him in the duffel bag? See how it changes from hypothetical to it's real. I think he was duct taped. Whose DNA is going to be on the bicycle? Probably Sarah's. Well, no, she's not a very quick person, so I put Adrian on it. Because he was on the tricycle, right? They told his mother that Michael's tricycle was... That alone should tell you guys listening that this is a lie. That Stacey's bullshit that he is spewing is all made up. The tricycle alone. They cannot and will not confirm this tricycle to belong to anybody because they can't. And the mother, if you're going to call her a liar, go ahead. But she said that that was not his tricycle. It's a pink tricycle. What would he be doing in flip-flops with a pink tricycle? Now I'm kind of understanding the importance of the tricycle and how it's actually going to save Stacey's ass. It's just proving the lies he's telling on purpose. That he's already admitted to giving the detectives anything they want to get off my back. As he's literally withdrawing from psychotic meds, if that's the truth. It's very clear to me. When these answers aren't satisfying enough to the detectives, they told Stacey, right now you're not giving me a lot, so you're going to have to work with me. You're right, Sunflower. They fed it all to him. And I bet people could not, who invested in this farce, I feel like it would be very difficult and bruised to the ego to have to admit that, oh, I got duped. Oh, I got duped. It was really, really, convincing to me. Hearing all of this stuff and the outpours and the outcries from the family members. I'm not blaming you for that. I think that that's reasonable. But if you can't look past that and look at the reality of it and just question it just a little bit, I think that eventually you're going to realize what we are realizing, which is these detectives planted the seed. And what came to fruition was nothing to do with justice for Michael. Nothing. It's actually a disservice. It's horrible. It's despicable. Trampling on the rights of a mentally handicapped person who was off his medication. It's corrupt. The end. This is a corruption of justice. While real perpetrators are out there laughing at it. Could you imagine the real perpetrators laughing at this? They got away scot-free, laughing. But maybe that was the whole point in the first place. What's some of the things that happened that I can corroborate? And after Stacey replied, the tricycle, which that's a lie. They used duct tape. They planned on selling him for money. The detectives replied, I still don't hear information that would help me. So what's something that I can prove or disprove? What do you mean? That's gold evidence if that's what your theory is of the tricycle. So are you telling me, detectives, that you don't believe registered sex offender Dorothy Starkey's events of seeing Michael on a tricycle in the neighborhood close to their home? You don't believe her then? Because that's what she said. Which I've never believed that for a minute. I don't even think she saw him at all. Either way, it's suspicious. Are they working for law enforcement as a liar? To not get, I don't know, let's say a probo violation for a late the registry? I don't know. That is all me speculating, but I mean, it happens, guys. It happens. It happens in the world. They become informants. Stacey then parroted what the detectives just told him less than 5 minutes earlier. Forensic evidence, Adrian or Sarah's fingerprints on the bike, which that didn't happen, did it? The probable cause affidavit, or excuse me, the Idaho State policeman, Horst, said that nope, there was nothing. Huh, that's very interesting. Why did they insert the tricycle into the story? Because they had nothing else. Benny Harrison, is anything being said about Jimmy Gross involvement? I don't know. You might want to, I heard he was looked into and talked to. I heard that he has a lot of connections in that community. I've heard that he was kicked out of the search when Michael went missing, and he was adamant to go and search for him, and he had no business doing that when his wife was literally about to give birth any minute. I've heard a lot of things. I don't know any of it to be true, but it's suspicious, and his name has been thrown around a lot lately. That would be maybe something potentially, if anything comes of that, to look into. But I don't know. Great question, though. Thank you for that. This is really freaking sad. Yes, it is. And I have to say, Eve, I respect you even more for never giving up on searching for the truth. Thank you. I appreciate that, Chris. If someone kidnaps me, I want Eve on my case, not Chris. Well, I appreciate that. I would concur that anyone's better than that one. Anyone. Because I'm sorry, you might be ended up gotten already, and he's already profited off of you for about 2 years before anything breaks. If I'm honest. Sorry. But I'd find you pretty quick, I think. I think I would. For free. Detective Kelleher had one piece of information that would prove that the person who took Michael would know. Do you? Do you? Miss Kelleher, what is it? I want to know. So she asked Stacey directly, what did this little boy have with him? Oh, the toy. The toy. I think it's time. Let's listen to something. Videos. Toy. There is a recording that is very crucial that I think needs to be played here. Strike me and you will get it. You will get it all legally. Try me. Do it, lady. Because you will lose. 1 second, let me get it. Videos, toy. Is this one it? Hold on.
He was still seen. They still can place him like in front of the house at whatever time that would be, then 42 or 6:42. Right. Okay. So yeah, I mean, so maybe it sounds like he was like maybe playing in the driveway for a minute. Probably. And did they say at some point that he was holding a toy? Yeah, nobody knows that. He was just like playing in the driveway like he would or something. Or like, I don't know. Yeah, that's one thing that nobody knows. Like go knock on these other doors.
Well, because some neighbors told the police that he had like a round toy in his hand, and Cy brought me a couple pictures of the toy what somebody described, but the toy that they described, we haven't seen it in forever. We have some, but they're in storage.
And also, it's not something that he played with on
Basis.
Yeah.
Now, we did find, Tyler got the kids a bunch of different,
they're like advent calendars with many Funko Pop things. And I got him the Marvel one, and he plays with those a lot. And I thought it might have been Captain America because those Funkos have the big round heads. But we found Captain
we
America.
found Captain America, but that doesn't mean he didn't have another one. Because
Who else would be blue?
there's 25 of them.
Right.
Is it Batman blue? I guess he's not Marvel. And he was.
Nobody knows about the toy, this alleged toy that he was holding in his hands while he's on a tricycle over on Meadowlark and Red Wing, close to the first turn onto the road that leads to Stacey and Sarah's house. So that's a lot to deal with. Flip-flops on his feet. He's riding on this pink tricycle or alleged pink tricycle. We're assuming this, okay? And he's got a toy in his hand all while trying to get somewhere. And nobody sees all of this commotion going on except for the neighbors on his street. I don't buy it. I don't buy a thing of it. I don't know who's lying. But I definitely know Stacey is. But I don't know if that's true about the neighbor seeing him holding a toy. And if it is it really Michael? Where's the damn toy? What's the toy? Because there is a blue Batman toy that he got for his birthday that year. Along with his Minecraft underwear. There's a video that's been played out there. And it was a Batman helicopter, I think, bath toy where you can shoot the little things out. Pew, pew, pew. But apparently this was a round toy, so I have no idea. It wasn't very round. It was a helicopter, but it wasn't a big, big toy. I would think that somebody would see at least the helicopter. What I'm trying to say is that there's a plethora of I'm sure, options. Was this kid Michael? Was it? But did they see Michael or did they see the 5-year-old down the street? That looks like Michael a little bit from a distance, I would assume. Could it have been another kid? I don't know. Could these neighbors be lying? Maybe. But that's the one thing that you know, Miss Kelleher? That's the one thing that you know for a fact. For a fact. That would prove everything. Well, I know for a fact that Brandy admits to buying this toy mere days prior to his alleged abduction. So I'm pretty sure it'd be very easy for this toy to be figured out. Which toy is it? Why is it such a weird thing? And if Stacey isn't saying exactly what toy it is, we need to talk. Because that means he doesn't actually know. What the fuck? We've heard Minecraft, Pokemon, Batman, Spider-Man, monster trucks. I can't keep track, I know. You will never be able to sift through the lies that have been told. On both sides. Poor Michael. Poor Michael. Y'all get it together, grown-ups. Jesus Christ. Stacey replied, some sort of stuffed animal, a dinosaur or something, or like a monkey, which was taken into evidence, by the way. He's got a stuffed monkey that was in evidence. It's on a paper that was even shown by the mother. So it couldn't be that monkey. Anyway, it wasn't Beanie Baby size. A green monkey that Sarah and I had bought a long while ago for one of our dogs. It was a squeaky toy for a dog. That the Don't Make Me Play the video of the wiener dogs and how they love to dig holes. That's what they're born and bred to do. That's what the toy was that he's talking about. Stacey then goes on to tell the detectives that he heard the duct tape rolling around and heard this little boy murmuring and whining and crying. The detectives then go back to the Sarah, Adrian, and Brandon walking in the house, and Stacey responds to the detectives. Question about where Michael was. With, I think Sarah was holding him. You think or do you know? Did Sarah come in like the Kool-Aid man with Michael on her hip or not? Look what I got. Mind you, she was in the hospital 2 or 3 days prior to this whole alleged incident with pain so bad from her gallbladder that she was in the hospital. She was back in the hospital, I want to say in August. Okay? They gave her pain pills for this shit. They gave her hydrocodone for the pain she was experiencing. There's a picture of her lifting her shirt up 3 days prior at the hospital saying, look how swollen I am. Are you going to tell me that she grabbed him and put him on her hip after all of that? Waiting for a potential surgery or something? No, ma'am. No. This is all a farce. Okay, so the interrogation continues with the detectives prodding Stacey for further detail, with Stacey continuing to add details that he heard from the prior interrogation. Obviously. How much a kid is worth, a tricycle. Michael was in the duffel bag in the back of the truck. Duct tape was used, even though there was no evidence. With the duct tape they did find that they tested, there was zero evidence of Michael. That's a fact. After the first interview, he called Brandon to get their story straight. Well, why wouldn't you? That's called an alibi. You want that alibi. That's not a bad thing. Asking someone to corroborate your alibi is a great thing. That's what detectives literally want. It's nothing nefarious about it. The detectives asked Stacey to write down his story, and he was unable to write out in detail what he told the detectives in writing because he couldn't remember his lies. His made-up farce. He couldn't write it down because he couldn't remember what he said. At approximately 3:30 p.m., Sarah Wondra asked me to go do a taxi run from Ontario to Payette, name unknown for now. I decided to take the Lexus. I had stopped at the splash pad to obtain my can of chew. I will tell you 100% certainty that when I play this next recording, you might make the connection between this white Lexus. This is from February of 2022. Very, 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 very early on. And you're going to hear knowledge of a white sedan or a gray sedan sitting at the park. How in the world, you will ask maybe potentially, how does this person know so much information about the details of this investigation so early on? That was my question. One moment while I pull that up. It's very concerning. Very, very concerning. Is it this one? Oh, that's when they were trying to set up Jen, the babysitter. She was unofficially cleared, by the way. Had to bail that poor girl out of being accused. Now here I am doing it for 4 people. Ironic. What was this one?
I've sat in the police station, I don't know how many times. Damn, every other day. Or when I'm having a bad day like I am today, and I go in and, I sit there and cry. And I'm like, okay, I thought about, okay, this happened that night. Trying to remember with walking with the dogs.
Oh.
Or, talking with me.
Walking with the dogs. Oh, no. You were walking with the dogs? The scent dogs? The banshee? Were you the one that was like coming out of the car that Dustin Witt was talking about and noticed a woman getting out of a car and looking at them while they were doing their trailing? Oh, I better not hear that was you. That would just be too much. I'd had it. That would have been it.
What exactly did they say to you? What was their...
Oh, that's not it. So sorry. They kind of just run into each other, all of these videos that I have collected over time. Oh yeah, the vehicles. That's right. Thank you for your patience. It's a coming. Okay.
But they're figuring out where every single one of those cars were and that Honda Pilot is the only one they have yet to been able to identify.
Which is why I had said something to the people that had the timelines where they were asking for the Blue Avenger and then the Jogger, because they both came forward, correct?
Correct. Well, funny thing about the Blue Avenger, they actually didn't come forward. Fruitland PD finally hunted him down and found out it was a teenager, and just kind of, well, I figured if you wanted to talk to me, you'd come talk to me. Seriously, dude?
Oh, did they forget to tell you that the Blue Avenger was the neighbor to the left of Stacey? The Blue Dodge Avenger? That's not good. Ooh. And they're prominent people. They don't want their names spewed out onto social media. That would be very embarrassing. But that Blue Dodge Avenger, that was an alleged teenager, she's being told this shit. She's also being told about a white or gray sedan that was parked at the park. Could that have been Stacey for a minute while he got his can of chew? So that would have meant that in December or January of 2020, December 2021 or January of 2022, Stacey was on the radar of the family because detectives are giving them everything. Potentially. I'm just saying it might be. It's all hypothetical. But what I'm trying to get at is, how easy would it be to be so gung-ho on trying to find answers that you would be spewing all of the tea or the evidence that you were being hand-fed by the police that ended up making its way back to these people who were just literally minding their business. And now you have people being set up for it, potentially. Because now they have word that this is what the evidence the detectives are investigating into. This is dangerous shit. This is why parents of missing children don't need to be told everything, no matter what. This is why they don't get told things normally on a normal basis. But in corrupt cases, things don't work out that way. And I'm positive that not everything was told to the parents. But it becomes a very slippery slope when things that are important that are being told in privacy that isn't private after all is being leaked. And the only reason it's coming out is because it's proving my point that there is a corrupt element to this case. And it's worrisome. Why? Why? There's something wrong here. And putting people on death row, allegedly, or trying to anyway, or trying to get these people put away for life. So with such little evidence is concerning in itself, don't you think? This isn't just in my opinion, they got it wrong. The theory is wrong. This goes 1,000,000 steps further than that to me because of the little things that happen along the way that shouldn't have and are still happening now. Like I said, I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything except for the fact that this is what happened. This is the truth. And if you just so happen to believe what I believe after all of this, great. If not, great. But we're not going to sit here and stifle the truth anymore. We're not going to tiptoe around feelings because this is how corruption gets out of hand. When you get stifled and stay quiet because people are threatening your life when you have the truth. Enough is enough. And this motion is unintentionally helping prove some of this stuff is a possibility. I'm sorry that it has to be this way. Outlaw is, oh God, I remember this now. Great. Yes, he has connections to literally the entirely, oh. Are you talking about Jimmy? I hope that they look into all of that, yeah. All right, so I've lost the plot. We have stopped reading this, but I do believe that was a very important segue into this isn't just about Chris Madonna coming into the mix and shit went south. I can't give him all of the credit. This was going on from the jump, guys, with the detectives in Fruitland, in my opinion. This wasn't just an isolated Chris Madonna situation. He just so happened to make it worth the damn, in my opinion. So we're going to wrap up here in just a second. We have plenty of time until August 4th. So we've got some time to go through this. And we're going to go through it thoroughly. The detectives bring up questions to Stacey's story, such as, you said Adrian and Sarah abducted Michael? But where was Brandon if he came back in? And I'm a little confused about your story. Was he sold in Ontario or in the double bag? Okay. We're all confused. Right? Sorry, 1 second. I think a witch is trying to cast a spell on me to get me to shut my mouth. Is that what they say whenever you have a coughing fit? That witch is trying to cast a spell on me. The detectives tell Stacey to keep me honest here. When they come home, she's holding him. The duct tape comes into play. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm just trying to repeat what you've shared. Okay. Trying to cover his arse on paper, right? So they're trying to get Stacey to commit where he saw Michael. The detectives asked Stacey earlier, you said you saw him on either the couch or the floor. Which one was it? Again, trying to get Stacey to commit to one story, the detectives asked Stacey, can you describe how he was on the couch? I've heard two different ways, and I don't want to understand what he looked like when he was on the couch. The detectives questioned Stacey on whether Michael was taken to Ontario or to Kuna, to which Stacey responded, if I had to lean on one side, I would lean more Ontario side. He's guessing. During this interrogation, when Stacey is giving the detectives the details they want to hear they are rewarding him with chewing tobacco and trying to get him to drink chocolate milk. Wake up. Everybody, if you're fighting in the chat or talking in the chat, listen to me. During this interrogation on November 10th, when Stacey is giving the detectives the juice, the details, they want to hear they are rewarding him with chewing tobacco and trying to get him to drink chocolate milk because the boy loves milk. Literally. Favorite thing in the world. His mother confirms this. No wonder he threw up. You're going to hear that he throws up, and Miss Kelleher is going to state, oh, Stacey, you've been holding this grief for so long, and it released finally. You feel so much better, and sometimes when you harbor that stress and angst, it comes out through the vomits. No, it doesn't. I mean, it could. But in this case, I think it's the chewing tobacco that he hasn't had in a while because he's in jail. And the chocolate milk mixed together. Could you imagine? Blech. I could throw up right now thinking about it. You might have been better off giving him, like, water. Okay. I don't even... is this intentional? I don't know. That's pushing it. That's pushing a little bit of a conspiracy there. But tobacco and milk don't go together, boo. Chew and chocolate milk are not on the same page. I could never. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that. Yuck. Before the detectives left after interrogating Stacey for over 4 hours, they tried to call. Listen up. They try a call between Sarah and Stacey, but I remind you, Sarah is out of jail at the time. She's about to go right back in the next day, but she is out free in the world. She had already come back from the stint in, I believe, the institution that she was in, the mental thing. But she's out and free at this point. So the detectives tried a call between them two. But when it went to voicemail, they told him, that's all right. We can come back tomorrow, probably a little more afternoon, so you can get some sleep. I'll give you time to rehash everything in your brain. And if you have anything else you want to talk with us about before you speak with her, so if she has any questions, maybe we can go through it together. Oh, thanks. I'm so glad Sarah didn't answer. Boy, oh boy. Thank God. Okay, with a declaration that they would return the next day, Stacey was returned to his cell. Listen up, it gets very serious. This is a very harsh thing to end on tonight, but listen. It's very weird. It's very trigger warning, I guess. I don't really like doing that because life is a trigger. But this is about self-harm and trying to unalive oneself. And if that is too much for you to handle, please don't listen. Okay? This is just a warning. With a declaration that they would return the next day, Stacey was returned to his cell. Less than an hour and a half after the detectives left, around 2 a.m. on November 11, 2022, Stacey was found in his cell to be not breathing and was a noose made of a shirt around his neck. There is an exhibit R1 that I have no idea what that is in regards to proving that he actually tried to commit that to himself. Because from my understanding, there was no report, but there had to have been. So you have to understand, after all of those hours of interrogation, they leave. He was returned to his cell. Less than 60 minutes. Less than 60 fucking minutes of them leaving. He tries to go and allegedly harm himself. Now, he's told me he didn't do this. He doesn't remember ever doing that. Maybe he's telling the truth. Maybe he's lying. I don't know. Maybe he's ashamed of this. I don't really know, guys. It doesn't matter at this point. because physically I don't see this happening, like, logically, but this is giving Epstein, okay? And I don't believe he did that either. So, no. But, so anyway, based on this not breathing, which is like, you need to go to the hospital, bro. If you're not breathing, you're dead. If your heart is slowing down, you're about to die. So, based on this, Stacey was placed on suicide watch until November 14th of 2022. So now we have the truth of the matter. When we were listening to the preliminary hearings with Daddy Crimmon's son, baby Crimon, his name is Bryce Crimon, who stole that Thanksgiving apology letter out of the tote of Stacey's while he was on suicide watch. So now we know when he stole it. Or let me rephrase, took it. He didn't steal it because he put it back. So I was wrong for saying that. Borrowed momentarily the apology letter that the detectives wanted Stacey to write to the mother, or the family rather. Now we know that was the date. It was in between the time of November 10th and November 14th that he went in and got that letter to take a snippet of and email it to Daddy. So that helps. That's a good timeline factor. But if he was placed on unaliving watch until November 14th, and when they found him at 2, do you think that the detectives came back, or should have come back and talked to him because he was on watch? They shouldn't have had access to him, right? Oh, no. No, they didn't really give a two flying shits about his mental health. Because on November 11th, 2022, and although Stacey had attempted unaliving the night before, the detectives returned for a third interrogation the next day. Sorry about that, Stacey. Sounds like you had a rough night. So anyway, back to what we want you to do. That's not even a full day. What say you, Fuzzy Britches, Chris McDonough? Is this something you like to practice when you were not retired? Is that something was this normal for you? Kelleher? Is this what you do? Kremen? Oh my. Shame. It's shameful. Beyond shameful. Anyway. So prior to, again, although Stacey had attempted the unaliving the night before, the detectives returned for a third interrogation on November 11th. Prior to this interrogation, Kelleher made a phone call to Stacey's mom around 11:22 a.m. The detective arrived for round 3 at 2:09 p.m. 3 hours after Stacey's mom was alerted that they're going to do this one more again. Anyway, and interrogated Stacey in a small room as the day before for almost 3 hours. Now, I am severely questioning the unaliving situation, but look, who am I? Maybe it really did happen. It makes it worse if it actually did happen, and let's assume that it did. Let's assume that this is true, because I don't trust nothing from that county. How could you let him out to talk to detectives? There are policies you have to abide by when someone tries to harm themselves in prison. There's no exceptions to that rule, dude. You have to have a sign off. There has to be a log. Who is running this thing? I would be terrified. And I'm sure people are terrified in Idaho to have loved ones jailed in there with mental health issues. I know. I see it all the time. Oh my God. This is your proof. Right, Ellie. I don't know if he was transported to the hospital. He should have been gone. Or at least in the medical ward the entire time. The entire time. But I'm pretty sure the policy states that you go to the hospital. You don't even stay in the ward, the medical unit. You go to the hospital. So this needs to be cleared up. And I think that even if it wasn't true, the defense has them by the balls, the prosecution, because they have to either admit that it was a lie on the PCA, fabricated, or it really did happen and it still looks terrible. Either way, it looks bad for them. And it helps Stacey. This is why you don't do things in a corrupt manner. The truth will always come to light. During this interrogation, the detectives brought Stacey a Subway sandwich. Oh, how sweet. Thank you for not dying. We got you a Sammy, chips and a drink. That is not allowed for inmates at the Washington County Jail. After the meal with the detectives, they read him his rights, and Stacey makes the same joke about not speaking Spanish, which is what we see. We see this footage. The detectives and Stacey talk about how Adrian came to live with them. So we're back in the saddle again. And whether Adrian was aggressive with Stacey. Stacey then repeats what he told the detectives the night before. However, this recitation, Stacey is able to tell in a story format that on the night Michael disappeared, he was home. Sarah came walking in holding Michael with Adrian and Brandon in tow, and they brought him into the living room, and Stacey left the living room to go into the bedroom where Sarah follows him to tell him that she's making money. Wow, what a detailed, brand new line of information. Especially after almost being successful in unaliving oneself. Just mere hours prior. What was it, 11 hours, I would think? Because they left at 2 a.m. and they were back at 2 p.m. So 12 hours. Stacey's in the cell, unaliving himself, not breathing. And the detectives are back in 12 hours with a Subway sandwich and a drink and a cookie. Thanks for not dying. So anyway, tell me more. And he's like, okay. Blah, 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 blah. Wow. What a violation of one's civil rights if I have ever heard. This is straight up a civil right, a constitutional violation of your 5th and 14th Amendment. Oh my God. Lawsuits for everyone. Lawsuits for everyone. Make them an example. That's what I'd say. I swear to God, I mean that. Stacey recites that prior to going to the bedroom, he saw Michael on the brown couch and was in distress. Stacey then tells the detectives that he questioned why they abducted a boy and that he saw a tear in the boy's eye before he heard Sarah and Adrian told him to shut up. Wow, that's a lot different than before. But guys, we can't even take this seriously because the man almost died just 12 hours prior, and he was off of his psych meds just a week and a half prior to that. Cold turkey. I mean, even if he didn't have a mental disability or mental handicap, it wouldn't matter to me. It's a wrap. As like a normal human being, that would be enough for me as a juror to go, that ain't right. Looks like they're coercing this person. I can't take that seriously. Where's the evidence? But oh my God, it's even worse because he is mentally handicapped and almost unalived himself. Is this how we treat our mentally ill patients or inmates? Is that what we do? Wow. There's a lot of answers that need to be, questions that I have that need to be answered on how the jails run there. Pathetic. When Stacey got to the bedroom, he heard the duct tape being pulled, and he comes back out to see the duct tape on Michael's mouth, even though the duct tape had no DNA evidence that was found in the back of the truck. You know, the one that he said he helped somebody move, and then said, no, it was Michael. No DNA evidence, just reminding you. Stacey was questioned by he did not stop them. And he responded with Sarah in her history, how crazy she was acting. I don't want to be a victim of death. Okay, that's a little bit outrageous. You just tried to unalive yourself a day ago. You were your own victim of potential death. And you're saying that with Sarah's history and how crazy she was acting, I don't want to be a victim of it? I'm going to end on that. I'm going to end on that because who's lying about this entire thing? Listen to me. If there's lies in the PCA or given to the defense by the prosecutor, and it's from the investigators, which obviously it would be mostly, that's bad news for the detectives. Potentially. But it's really bad if, let's say, they knew about the truth, specifically Mike Duke, if he actually knew about the truth and didn't correct it. They call those, are they Brady violations or rule evidence violations? You can be sanctioned. You can actually go to jail in certain instances. Not that I'm saying it's that severe here, but I'm saying we saw earlier about the defense requesting all of this discovery that they obviously don't have for some reason. And just the spidey senses in me, not that I know anything, I don't, but the spidey senses in me are saying there's something there with this alleged unaliving situation. And maybe the preliminary hearing in itself is a fraud on the court because the Judge Lee made a decision based on faulty shit. Maybe. And I think that we will find out eventually that I could be more right than not. Without tooting my own horn, toot toot. That's why I say subscribe and hit that notification bell. I might not be the best at this YouTube thing, but you're going to get the truth. You're going to get it. And you really need to watch this channel if you want the reality of the situation. Yeah, I'm going to leave it here. I'll finish this sentence. Then Sarah and Adrian left to take care of some business. And he assumed that they went to Ontario to sell Michael. Because that's, yeah, sounds legit. You don't even have a buyer ready for this alleged kidnapped child? Get out of fucking town. Stacey then talked about the duffel bag still being at the house and looking like it did when Brandon first brought it over to the house. All right, so to remind myself, we're on page 27. If somebody, one of my mods can remind me on the next live, or just reach out to me that we were on page 27 because it might not save. It should, but it might not. Thank you so much for being here, guys. I thought I would get a lot farther along, but I'm okay with that. There's a lot to go over, and it's going to take time, and that's the reality. Can't rush these things. And thank you for listening to my ranting and raving. I'm trying my hardest, guys. It's a lot of information, and I know too much. But I appreciate every single one of you. Michael deserves better than what we're seeing play out. I pray for the truth to come to light. The sooner the better. You know, as I say, drink your water. Love on your babies. Love on your family. Cherish every moment, and I will see you on the next live. Bye, guys.
Gone somewhere and dyed my hair now. Wanna be alone. It's much to bear and you don't care, and I won't play alone. I got you in my sight. I keep all the words you said to me. I get you, get you, get you, get you on your knees. Rewrite all the things you said that I should